wall. She's not sure if you're a boy or a girl. Hey babe, your hair's alright. Hey babe, let's go out tonight. You like me and I like it all. We like dancing and we'll feel fine. You love bands when they're playing hard. You want more and you want it more. They put you down, they sit down wrong. You take your thing, you put them on. Rebel, rebel, you torn your dress. Rebel, rebel, your face is a mess. Rebel, rebel, how could they know? Hot tramp, I love you so. Hello in the balcony. You've got your mother in a wall. She's not sure if you're a boy or a girl. Hey babe, your hair's alright. Hey babe, let's stay up tonight. You like me and I like it all. We love dancing and we look divine. You love bands when they're playing hard. You want more and you want it fast. They put you down, they sit down wrong. You take your thing, you put them on. Rebel, rebel, you torn your dress. Rebel, rebel, your face is a mess. Rebel, rebel, how could they know? Hot tramp, I love you so. Come on. You torn your dress, your face is a mess. You can't get enough, finding up in the test. You've got your transmission and your wire. You've got your Q-line and a half of the lose. You wanna be there when they can with the dudes. And you torn your dress. Oh, you're a juvenile success. Mom, but your face is a mess. I said that how could they know? I said that how could they know? So what you wanna know? Well, I'm in his charge, it's your job. Where you wanna go? What can I do for you? Looks like you've been there too. And I love your dress. Oh, but your face is a mess. I said your face is a mess. So how could they know? I said now how could they know? Thank you so much for a brilliant night. Everyone here in Cambridge, thank you very much. Thank you for the biscuits. Thank you very much. I want your trousers. Thank you, everybody. I'm just going to let Toni Visconti have just a few words now. We'll see you later.
Now I get on the good microphone. Thank you. You know, I go back to 1967 with David, and I met him at the behest of my publisher, who said that, you can sit down, it's a long story. Good, sit down. I know you wanted to get the energy up. Anyway, he said, he played the D-Ram record, you know, I don't know, not the Little Drummer Boy, it was, what was it? The Laughing Gnome, okay? And then When I Live My Dream or something like that, and I said, gosh, this guy has a great voice, but he's like all over the place. So he says, yes. He goes, well, that's the problem. We don't know what to do with him. And I said, well, I would find one thing he's really good at, and then we'll make a whole album like that. He goes, that's a good idea. Would you like to meet him? And I said, sure. And David was in the next room waiting to meet me. It was all a setup. I didn't realize this was a setup. So I go in there and I notice that the first thing you notice when you meet David Bowie, if you never met him before, if he wasn't a star, this chap has two different colored eyes. And that was like, slightly alarming. But I got over that quickly and, later heard the story. So we chatted all day about, for about an hour, about all the things we like, which was Jack Kerouac, the beatnik movement, and this radio announcer, Ken Nordine. The really weird stuff, and the thing is, we all knew, we each liked these strange things. And we spent the rest of the day together. The office closed, we walked down Oxford Street, we walked down Hyde Park Corner, and eventually found ourselves on King's Road, and walked along King's Road. This is now about 8 o'clock at night, and then the meeting was about 1 in the afternoon. So we just didn't want to go home, and there was a cinema playing there that played all foreign films. And one thing we actually both liked was scratchy black and white foreign films in Polish. And there was A Knife in the Water was playing by, what's his name? What's the director's name? Yeah, thank you. And so that's it. We said goodnight at about 10:30 p.m. and I went back to I think I was living in Earl's Court, and he went back to Bromley. He had a longer journey than I did. And, we went through many stages, and one thing I'd just like to tell you, a funny story, I don't want to take up much time, was that we suddenly found ourselves in Berlin. And you might ask yourself, why did David Bowie go to Berlin? And the answer is really strange, because you would think that David by then was a millionaire, which he could have been had he not had a manager who siphoned off all of his money. And he was actually skint. And he couldn't afford to live in London. And so Berlin was dirt cheap to live in because it was a war zone. It was technically still a war zone. And all the flats, you could get a 4-bedroom flat for next to nothing, which he did. He had a 4-bedroom flat, big front room, big kitchen, everything. And it was on the Hauptstrasse. And I remember I had to tell my taxi driver, ein 55 Hauptstrasse to get to the house. It was the only German I really learned, apart from Scheiße, And so we found ourselves in Berlin and at this strange studio called Hansa by the Wall. Well, actually, it was just called Hansa, and David called it By the Wall. From the control room window, we could see the wall that separated the West Berlin to the East Berlin. And over the other side, we saw a big wall, and there was a gun turret. There were guns up there, with machine guns up there, and red guards who were wearing these somber gray overcoats. And it was really freezing. They were wearing these thick overcoats and these big kind of Russian hats. And you could see from the control room window, it was only about 100 yards, you could see a big red star on their furry hats. And we turned to our German engineer, Edu Meyer, and we said, doesn't this frighten you to look at the wall every day? And these guys have guns, and they're East Germans and Russians over there. He goes, no. He says, watch this. And he took this overhead light, which with a bulb in it, and he shone it towards East Berlin. He went, and he's sticking his tongue out. And David said, don't do that! And we dived underneath the console and we were afraid to get up. We thought bullets were just going to fly through the window, And this inspired kind of all the lyrics of Heroes, and a lot of these experiences or imagined dangers were actually got into the lyrics of the song. David remembers once he got into his little car and he drove down a side road very, very close to the wall. And he's on the west side, and this is a big 15-foot wall with barbed wire. And he hears a knock on his window. He's having a cigarette, just wants to be alone. And he turns it open, he looks over there, and he sees one of those red guards with the big furry gray hat and the red star on the wrong side of the wall. And he says, yes, he's really shaky. He described the story like this. The guy says, have a cigarette. The guy, you know, I actually had nothing in East Berlin. No cigarettes, no clothes, no food, nothing. This guy found an underground passage. There were a lot of secret tunnels. He went right under that river and came up on the other side to ask some West Berliner for a cigarette, which is such an incredible story. And I mean, if David said the wrong thing, I mean, this guy was armed, you know, he's a big, you know, Russian or East German soldier. So my adventures with David were like that. You know, he liked to go to a new city, new town, to get inspired and to live the life of what everyone in that city is doing. Whereas I worked with other rock stars who would say go to Hamburg and they'd spend all the time in a hotel room or just go to a bar at night. But David actually put a hat and coat on and pulled it down, and he walked through the streets of Berlin endlessly, and so did Iggy, you know, Jimmy, Iggy Stooge. The two of them just took long walks, and they went native. I call it going native. So it's been such a long, wonderful life with David, and you know, we spent loads of time together during the making of Black Star, and then, you know, the night it happened, we were all, the night the bad thing happened, we were all in Toronto, and we just finished the show, and then the news came in the morning, and, you know, I can't tell you how devastated we all were. But here I am with this fabulous band. I love this band. Everyone is a master musician, and what brings together is the true star of this concert, who is David Bowie. We play his music, and it just brings it back to life, and it makes us feel good, and I think it makes you feel good too.
Thank you for coming. And to Toni Visconti. Thank you so much, everybody, tonight. It was a brilliant night. Thank you very much, and see you later.